Joining us now is the newest member of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. And Wardo, in a few minutes, we're going to bring in somebody that was very instrumental in getting you in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. My God, it's been way too long, but now you're in. What does this mean to you?
Oh, shoot. I tell you, I think it just, it kind of lets you know that that your peers think of what you did and how you did it was, was worthy of getting this honor. And that's something that I've thought about, since it's been put on hold now for a year and a half, and it's going to be on hold until 2022. So I've got a lot of time to reflect back and think about it, and just realize what an honor it is to be inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. So it's been surreal, but it's also made me do a lot of reflecting, a lot of thinking about people that helped me with my career and people I've met along the way, people that I've gotten to know, lifelong friends. I mean, I sit here and think about it, and it's been 35 years or whatever since the first time I stepped foot in Canada, back in 1986. And, here I am still, doing a lot of stuff up in Canada and doing a lot of things for the Jays organization. And, just really, it's just a reflective thing, Barry. And it's something that, I'm honored. That's all I can say is I'm honored with this induction.
Wardo, this better be one hell of a speech, because the amount of time that you have to prepare for this, you're going to have to kill it out there.
It's going to take all of about 3 minutes, and that's all I'm going to give them. No, it's like I said, it just by it being pushed back, it's just been one of those things where I've had so much time to reflect, and the last thing I want to do is not say thanks to the right people or leave somebody out. And that's something, that's something I keep thinking about all the time is, I don't want to leave anybody out, and I don't want to, make it to where it's a 45-minute, 2-hour or whatever, acceptance speech or whatever. But I want to make sure that I recognize all the people, and I don't want to lump in so many people into one group or whatever, because there were so many different individuals and so many different coaches and so many different people, like I said, people that really have, played an instrumental part in me being, inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
You do have played such a huge role in Canadian baseball. First as part of the great Blue Jays teams of the 80s and 90s. And you wouldn't remember this, but actually we met a few years ago. You were helping coach kids at the Dome, and as part of a great and my son was one of those kids in the left field bullpen. And so you've had such an indelible impact on the game in Canada. And I wonder if you realized that as a player, or if that was something that it didn't really sink in until after, when you started working more actively with youth.
We didn't have all this, this stuff to where, you had to be aware of what you were saying or what you were doing and stuff. So you had more time just to focus on your career, to try to get, from rookie league to A ball to AA to AAA, and hopefully get to the big leagues. So, I mean, that was my focus while I was playing, is just trying to do the best that I could to prolong my career and to have a long career. But, afterwards, you start thinking about it, going, gosh, so many kids are asking questions about, how did I do this or how did I do that? And obviously I was a pitcher, so I couldn't talk to them a lot about the hitting side of things. And so I thought about, hey, let's see if we can't start giving back to some of these kids and give them an opportunity that I didn't have, because I grew up in a small town in northwestern New Mexico. And that to me was something that I was never exposed to, was having a former big league ball player or big league ball players, just putting on little, local clinics or camps or whatever. And so I said, what, the best way to do this is to get a bunch of alumni, get them out on the road and let's have the hitters there. Let's have the pitchers there. Let's have the catchers there. Let's have, the infielders. Let them talk about how they did their thing and how they were, what got them to that upper echelon to becoming a big league ball player. And so that's where it grew at. And then, having, people like Paul Beeston and Stephen Brooks and these guys saying, yes, let's go ahead and do this. Let's take this show on the road and let's go across Canada. And obviously when we're in Toronto, it's going to be a lot bigger, I guess, event because of the population, but it's also its home base for the Toronto Blue Jays. So, when you get that opportunity, I felt like giving this back to these kids after my career was over with was one way to say thank you to the, more importantly to the parents that, that cheered me on, because after my career was over with, now here comes their kids through these camps. And so, it was my way of saying thank you to the parents and, I want to give back to your kids. Let's see if we can't get them a little bit of an advantage or get them, an opportunity to listen to different ways of doing things that might help them to get their game better. And that to me was very important.
Wardo, we recently spoke with former Jays closer B.J. Ryan, and like you, he had some incredible years, all-star years, and then the injuries took their toll. And he talked about the end of his career being just a horrific moment for him, both physically and mentally. For you, I mean, you put up that incredible year in '93, and then didn't play at all in '94. You come back and you play those 4 games in '95. Now, I'm thinking that your competitive edge and fire was still there, but physically it wasn't there. What do you remember about those 4 games that you pitched in 1995, and what's going through your mind is you're probably coming to the realization, shit, it's over.
But no, you know what? Barry, I never said it was over. I think I kept saying it's going to come back. It's going to come back. I'm gonna get back to where I was before, but I don't know if I went through any depression or anything like that, because that's just not me. I always thought that it was, going to come back and I was going to be able to pitch the way I wanted to pitch again. But over the course of the, after the 95 season, like, 96, 97, trying to come back and then, just not getting the response out of my arm and not realizing that until here, after I had my, my second shoulder surgery, a few years ago, not realizing that I had, torn the biceps tendon off. And I don't know if that was ever fixed in the first surgery or not, but
or even diagnosed, Wardo.
But it's something that when I had my surgery in '94, everybody said, this is going to be okay. It's something that I think you'll come back from, and this and that, whatever. But then I tore the cartilage off of my middle finger on my knuckle, which was a setback. And then, just having to go from, I guess, changing the way I was throwing a little bit to try to protect this. And I think it may have hurt more, and I don't know, but it was something where I think in '98 that it was something where I said, you know what, it's just not coming back. I'm not getting a response. And plus it was just a constant dull ache in my arm. And when I did pitch, because I went on to the Cubs organization and then into the Texas Rangers organization, when I went into spring training and stuff, I could throw, but then, gosh, I needed like 3 or 4 days off for it not to hurt anymore. And so that's when I started realizing, if this doesn't get better to where I can at least throw 2 days in a row, take a day off, take 2 days off, throw a day, take a day off. If I can't get to that, then it's not going to come back at all. So I think in '98 is when I realized that it's not coming back the way I want it to. And, and the only other thing to do was maybe to go in there and have another surgery done just to explore to see if there's anything wrong. And I never did that. So, I came to the realization that it was over. Did I want to play more? Yes. I wanted to go on for another 10 years. I wanted to go on, for as long as I could, like everybody wants to play as long as they can. But then, talking about, how do I give back? And I thought the best way to do that is to go, through an organization that, that I guess made my bones with and did a lot of good things with, is to go back to them and say, hey, I got some ideas here that we can do some stuff for the community. We can do stuff for, for the country of Canada. I mean, they backed me for 10 years while I played there. it's, it's time for us to give back to them and try to get more alumni involved and stuff like that. So I found another path to where I think it's been a great success. And I'm hoping that after this pandemic stuff is all over and done with, that we can get right back to it again.
You talk about passing on your knowledge, and coming off of talking about the end of your career and the injuries that led up to it. Is there anything specific in terms of injury prevention when you're working with young players that kind of rings an alarm bell, or that you try and impart?
Gosh, my thing was that when I was playing, I pitched so much. I pitched in so many games. I logged so many innings every year, and I think that might have been detrimental. I think nowadays, these pitchers are a lot more, I guess I want to say coddled, but it's not coddled, but they're looking
Protected.
yeah, they're protected more. They're part of we got to keep these guys healthy because we're paying them a lot more money than I was making, but we got to protect them a little bit. And in some respects, I'd like to see starters stretch it out a little bit more, because you got these relievers going out there, even if you're pitching a third of an inning or 2/3 of an inning, they're still pitching quite a bit. And people don't realize that you have to get up in the bullpen to get ready. That's throwing. And then you got to get, if you don't get in the game in that inning, then you got to get back up again and warm up again. And then hopefully you get back, you get into the game. So, I mean, you've actually thrown off the mound 3 times in one day. And now, I think that's why you're seeing so many relievers being used every single game. And I'd like to see that cut down a little bit, because it's just getting to a point where, you're seeing guys having forearm problems. You're seeing guys having, shoulder problems. And that's not something I want anybody to go through. So, but they're protecting these pitchers a lot better than they did 30 years ago.
You talk about them protecting the pitchers. Actually, it's something Barry and I were talking about. I believe in your 1991 season, you logged 127 innings. And as a reliever,
was it 91, or it might have been
90.
89?
No, it was 90.
It was 90, yeah.
1990, 127,
So, 127.
and 2/3.
So in 2019, the final full Blue Jays season that we've had, one pitcher, Trent Thornton, pitched 154 innings.
Yeah.
No other Blue Jay pitcher in 2019 pitched more than 125.
They also haven't had a complete game since 2018, right? And
Yeah.
we talked about this a few years ago, you and I, about how we're going to get to a point in the game where there's no such thing as starters or relievers. It's just pitchers. That theory is starting to ring truer and truer with every year that goes by.
Yeah, well, I've been talking with some of my my old teammates and stuff about the way starters are used and the way relievers are used, and now they're even using relievers to start games and go 1 inning or 2 innings and then bring in another guy. At some point in time, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's why pay a starter $30 million a year or whatever if he's only going to give you 4 innings every 5 days? I mean, you might as well just make him a reliever and make or just call everybody a pitcher and just give them all a flat base salary and just say, here, this is what we're going to pay you. I mean, obviously you have your elite pitchers. I'm not going to take anything away from some of these guys out there. DeGrom's incredible. Cole's been pretty incredible. Kershaw, incredible pitchers. And these guys are going out there and trying to go that 6, 7, 8 innings or whatever. But it's gotten to a point now where you have a starter going, 4 innings, 5 innings maybe, and then all of a sudden you're using 7 or 8 relievers. So, I mean, at some point in time, I think that's got to go back to where, starters got to give you a little bit more. But, it is what it is. And I think it's, the analytics, and it's the, all the matrix of baseball of people saying, hey, this pitcher's more effective if he pitches, just twice through the lineup, or, he's more effective if he, if the only reliever only comes out there and pitches to just, right-handed batters and stuff. So they're getting a lot more specialized and a lot more, nuances on the matrix and the numbers game.
Wardo, before we bring in a few of your fans to ask questions, I always like to do this with former pitchers. Here's a baseball from 1994. Okay.
Okay.
This thing still is sticky. Like this one, okay, it's still sticky. It's in great shape. This ball is from 2000. Oh, geez, sorry. Oh. See, I can't even hold on to it.
Yeah, there you go. That's the new ball from 2020.
So what the hell? Like, any idea why they stopped rubbing these with mud? Because to me, if they were still doing this, we wouldn't need guys to put all these foreign substances on it.
I think they are, still rubbing it with the mud because, there's a guy over, and I think where's he at, in New Jersey or someplace, where he goes out and gets gets the mud and packs it up for all the umpires. They may not be rubbing it up as much. I don't know. I mean, it's something I haven't touched a game ball in a long time.
They are pretty. They're pretty white and they're pretty slippery nowadays. And you watch on TV, you see it. But as a pitcher, talk about the importance of having grip and having that ball not be so slippery.
I mean, you can, these guys, I mean, they can go to their mouth now on the mound, and I pretty much just use nothing but saliva, to get the grip. But like you said, they did rub the balls up. Sometimes they were rubbing them up. They were so dark you couldn't even see them. So, I mean, I think there's a happy medium there. Rub it up to where it does get a little bit of roughness to it or a little bit of tackiness to it. But I just use saliva, and but I had to get off the dirt to go to my mouth, where these guys can do it right on the mound. And so you can get some good tackiness there. But like I said, everybody's going to these numbers thing, and they're finding ways to try to improve a pitch or improve their breaking ball or whatever. And if it comes down to them using tacky stuff or whatever, I mean, rules have got to be changed because it's illegal to do that. And now we're seeing that some of these guys are coming back down to earth a little bit about I guess the big thing is now is spin rate on baseball. So I mean, it is what it is, but I mean, they got to find a way to get those baseballs to where they were a little bit better, to where there's some tackiness on them already.
Well, Wardo, you can't come here to Toronto to see your fans, but well, the good news is we're able to bring them here to you. So we're going to bring them in right now, and there's going to be some faces that you do recognize there. And you know what? Why don't we?
Are you gonna make me put my readers on?
Why don't we start with Sue, and then John will follow in, because John is a guy that you have spoken to many times about the Baseball Hall of Fame, the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. But John, you shut up first. We'll hear from Sue.
Hi, Duane. It's great to see you, and you look fabulous.
Hi. How you guys doing? God, it's been forever since I've seen you guys.
I'm glad you remember us. Anyway, I can't wait for your induction. I really can't wait. But my question is, in 1993, when you were at the All-Star game in Baltimore, was there any one person or celebrity or whatever that you were really excited to meet for the first time?
Oh gosh, it's always nice to be around Michael Jordan. That's that was one guy. You don't really get a chance to talk to these guys a whole lot while they're there, because they're there to do the little celebrity home run hitting contest and stuff like that. But before that, I got a chance to meet Tom Selleck, because he was doing his tour for Mr. Baseball. Okay. And then he was part of the home run competition, celebrity competition in '93 also. So, got a chance to talk back with him, because when he was doing his tour for Mr. Baseball, it was, he came into the clubhouse and we got a chance to sit down and talk and stuff. So, that was nice. But like I said, it's always nice to be around someone like a Michael Jordan. And
okay.
So,
thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue.
Okay, guys. Hopefully, I'll see you guys soon sometime.
Oh, I hope too. I can't wait.
Wardo, was Tom Selleck's mustache as glorious in person as it was on camera?
You know what? Yeah, it was. But he was also a lot bigger than I thought he was too.
Really?
So I mean, he's a good size. He was a good sized man, 6'3", 6'3", 6'4". So I mean, he was a good sized man.
Jeez. All right. Also a good sized man is John. John, say hey to Wardo.
Hi, Duane. How are you?
Good, John.
Duane, first of all, I want to congratulate you on finally, too long before you got inducted. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I know you guys were pushing a lot for it too. So, thank you guys for always being in my corner and stuff like that.
Duane, I also want to acknowledge that there will be people who won't be able to be there that would have been sitting in the front row, smiling and so proud of you. So I just want to acknowledge that for you.
Well, thank you.
And again, thank you for all the work you're doing with the Jays Kids program. This is fabulous, and I know you add a lot. So,
well, I hope those programs continue, and that, I haven't heard a whole lot about what what direction the Jays are going with that stuff. So, I mean, it's like I said, I think I've been in contact with them once over the whole, the past year. So, I mean, I don't know where the programs are at or what they're going to do, but hopefully they will continue. Cause like I said, I enjoyed doing them, and I thought it was a great venue to give back to the fans of Blue Jay baseball. So,
Duane, I have one question, and it's about superstitions and rituals.
Oh gosh. Okay. Now you're making me go back into the memory banks here about all my superstitions.
Well, we'll go back into my memory bank. There's one thing, I don't know whether it's true. I've tried to find it, but I can't find it. Is it true that you wore the same T-shirt for years under your uniform?
Yes, the blue sleeves that I wore those almost for, gosh, I want to say I wore them for about 8 or 9 years, and then one trip to Milwaukee, they came up missing, and I couldn't find them. So it is true that I use. I mean, they were the white body with the blue sleeves, and the blue sleeves were fine, but the white body from being washed so much and that stuff. I mean, it was starting to become very see-through.
Yeah.
But yes, I did have the same sleeves on for a lot of years, and then I had to find another pair after that trip into Milwaukee. But yeah, it's true. I had them for a long time.
Go ahead, John.
Sorry, another quick one. Is it true? If it's not, that's okay. Is it true that you would only play catch with Jim Acker?
Well, it was Jim Acker, but the other one that I'd play catch with was Tom Hinkie.
Okay.
Okay. It was just one of those things where, I don't know, I guess, you call it routine or whatever. I don't know if it was a superstition, but it's more of a routine to say, let's play catch with this guy. But it was, something where, I didn't need to play catch a whole lot. It was just, guys that like Jim Acker and then, Tom Hinkie and stuff. So those are primarily the two guys that I play catch with.
Wardo, when you play catch with another player, specifically a pitcher, are you throwing a pitch to him, or are you just throwing a baseball? Like, is there a difference between playing catch and?
Yeah, you know what, you being a reliever, you don't know if you're going to pitch that day or not. So one thing you want to do is play catch, and kind of heat it up a little bit, spin a few breaking balls and stuff like that, but it was something where I just wanted to use it to test, where's my arm at today? So, because I wasn't going to go in the bullpen and get some side work. I almost never did that. If I did it, it would be because maybe I hadn't pitched in 2 or 3 days. But even then, it would be talking to Cito or talking to whoever and saying, hey, I need to get in the game today. Regardless of the situation, if it's a safe situation or a hold situation or anything, it didn't matter. I just need to get in the game. I need to get out there and throw. So playing catch, it was more, let's just see where the arm's at. Let's spin a few breaking balls, and then we're good. Let's get ready for the game. So it was more of a test than it was to go out there and just play some catch just for show.
Awesome. Sue and John, thank you so much. Fiona, you're up next, and you've got the retro Blue Jay shirt on back in the days when Wardo, back when actually, what do you think of these new unis? Do you like the baby blues now?
I like the uniform. I think they do a good job with, implementing all the, all the kind of the past with the present. And, just don't ever get rid of the little maple leaf in the Blue Jays head.
Oh boy.
Hi, Duane. It's nice to meet you.
How you doing? And there's that maple leaf in the Blue Jays head. Just keep it there.
As someone who on occasion called some Jays games for the radio broadcast, I'm just wondering, do you have any opinion on Rogers sort of discontinuing Our radio broadcasts.
I saw that earlier this year before they just, they decided to do that. And you know what? I think that radio is something that everybody really enjoys listening to. Because I remember going across the country in Canada, where we're doing doing the camps, and we'd drive sometimes from city to city, and the only thing we had was the radio, so we could listen to the Jays game. So, I was kind of disappointed that they did that, but I understand possibly why. And I think even Major League Baseball, a lot of people out there in the baseball world really frowned upon it, saying, you know what, this is baseball. Baseball on the radio is baseball, and so I hope they pick it back up, and I think they will. But right now, it's just something where I miss it. I missed it, when we couldn't pick it up on the radio when we're driving from town to town or whatever. So it's something that to me is baseball.
Well said. Thank you,
you.
Fiona.
And you think back to Tom and Jerry, right? I mean, these guys weren't just radio broadcasters. I mean, they were friends of all of you guys. I mean, they were part of the team.
He struck him out.
There were household names, and like I said, people always, some people would turn the TV on and and mute it, and then turn the radio on just to listen to Tom and Jerry, call the game. And to me, it's baseball. You didn't have TV back in the 1800s and early 1900s and stuff. So how did everybody listen to the game? They listened to it on the radio. So it's as baseball as anything there is in baseball. Is baseball being called over the radio?
Well said. Well said. Craig, you're up next, and your final question. Craig, say hello to Duane Ward.
Yes, thank you, Barry. Thank you, Tom. And just real quick, I open all of my Blue Jay work with "Hello, friends," and that's literally a tribute to Jerry Howarth. Just to follow, literally, just to follow up what you're talking about there. Something nefarious is up, by the way, with that shirt you're talking about. The Brewers back in the day, they were like the Rays these days. Didn't matter the standings. The Brewers always gave the Jays fits. So something's up with that shirt, Duane. Barry may need to investigate this.
We scoured the whole
yes, sir.
Trying to find those sleeves, and we could not find them. So
unbelievable.
I would have said that there might have been a plot against me. So, and I think that happened in 90. I think it happened in 93 is when it did happen. So,
well, Duane, it's funny you say 93, and it's funny you mentioned to Sue that we're asking you to go back, because I do want you to go back, Duane. We all remember the 93 World Series, the Joe Carter home run. Speaking of Tom Cheek, the touch 'em all call.
Yep.
Want to talk to you, Duane, about intricacy in that at-bat that fascinates me. So in that at-bat, now, first of all, Duane Ward's the winning pitcher of that game, by the way, right? People forget that, Duane. So let's mention that, first of all, yes. But in that at-bat...
Let me say this to you. I won the first game ever in Blue Jay history in World Series play, and I won the last one.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Against the Braves. No, exactly correct, Duane. Yeah. So there you go. So now you've got the memory working. Yeah. So let's go back to that at bat, Duane. Now, the one thing I want to point out, Alfredo Griffin's in the on-deck circle. He had pinched run for Olerud. So for you guys, it's probably Joe Carter or bust. Now, Mitch Williams against Joe Carter. Mitch Williams opens fastball, misses ball one, fastball, misses ball two. Fastball, strike one. And then, Duane, do you remember the 2-1 pitch? It's that slider down and in. Joe Carter, flat-footed swing. He's totally fooled. And then, Duane, the intricacy that fascinates me. Now Mitch Williams looks into Darren Dalton, rest in peace, the catcher, and shakes off the sign, Duane. Shakes off that sign. Now, do you think
Joe had pulled that slider down and in? He pulled that almost like a home run foul ball
on the previous at bat, on the previous pitcher, yes.
No, so then Mitch Williams, he shook off Darren Dalton and he called for the same pitch again.
Tried to fool him inside, Duane. Yes.
Tried to fool him again. Yep, and he left it out over the plate a little bit too much. And Joe was one of those guys. That if he could keep the ball fair down the line as well as anybody. And I don't know how he did it. Most guys when they hook it, they hook it foul. He kept it fair, and I tell you what, it couldn't have been more than maybe 2 or 3 feet that it stayed fair. So yeah, I remember that. I remember that vividly.
What would your approach have been, Duane, if you're in that scenario? Especially, that's why I bring up Alfredo Griffin in the on-deck circle. How would you have approached that at bat?
I would have definitely pitched Joe a little bit more carefully. I'd have made us make a choice on either letting Alfredo hit or find somebody to pinch hit for him. You know, but I would have made Cito, Alfredo, I'd have made them more of a part of that game than I would have let Joe, you know, have a bat in his hand and swing it. You know, Joe's more of a threat and everything else. So, and, you know, to me, I think Mitch made the wrong call by trying to go back to a pitch that he thought he made Joe look bad on. You know, because once a hitter realizes that, oh my gosh, you know, kind of snuck up on me, now he's going to make an adjustment immediately. So it might have been something where he could have, you know, he might have been able to throw something up and away to Joe and get him to flail at something, or down and away, see if he can get him to ground out. But Mitch came right back in and just, you know, he just left it over. He left it over the middle of the plate a little bit too much.
I think the best thing that could have happened to Mitch Williams was that his control was so bad that he plunked Joe Carter. I mean,
well, I would have made Cito, and, you know, I'd have made them make a decision and not let Joe Carter beat me, or let Joe Carter get a good swing at the ball. But I'd have had them make a decision, you know, and are you going to let Alfredo Griffin hit, or are you going to pinch hit for him?
Awesome.
Absolutely. Correct. Great question once again. And for all of you on the line, thanks you once again for making this such a great conversation with Wardo. Duane, we cannot wait to see you back in Toronto. We want to hear that speech. I want to see you. Hey, I want to see you cry, man. I want to see you bawl your eyes out.
Oh, you know what? It'll be one of those things that, like I said, it makes you reflect on a career. It makes you reflect on your life, and it makes you realize that obviously you're out there on that mound by yourself having to perform, but there was always so many other people behind you, with you, who encouraged you. And I just want to make sure I don't forget anybody. And especially, you know, I mean, stepping out on that mound, we had a whole country behind us. So it was easy. It was really easy to pitch at home. Really easy to pitch at home when you have, you know, 52,000 people in the stadium, but you had 36 million people across the country cheering for you. So that's something I want to make sure that, you know, I don't ever, you know, look at lightly, because that home field advantage is important.
Well, I will send you the correct spelling of my name so that you can make sure that it's in your speech.
Okay.
Wardo, awesome to see you again, man. It's been way too long. Miss you, pal. And I can't wait to see you again. But thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, I can't wait to get back up there also. You know, I'm just waiting for them to open up the border, and then just see what, you know, see what direction, you know, the organization goes, and, you know, what avenues we have to start doing things up there again, Barry.